Welcome back to Box of Base. I'm your host Vic. That's my co-host Josh. And
Yes, sir.
usually we're an all MLB podcast, but we're also Marlins fans. And today's episode is gonna focus primarily on the Marlins. They've
A
played,
special Marlins only podcast
yeah.
exclusive.
So they've played since we last recorded. They've played what, three series. Today they would wrap up their last one in Seattle. I guess you could call it the rubber match. In game three. But I think we want to go back to kind of I guess, the Philly series, really, which is where we last left off, and talk about that. I mean, Sandy didn't have a good start there in game one, and we'll just see. I mean, what are your thoughts on the Philly series so far?
I I was
I was
impressed to be
impressed, to be
honest with
honest
you.
with you.
I
I
was
was
more
more
impressed
impressed
than
than
I
I
thought I
thought I
was
was
going
going
to
to
be.
be.
They fought. They fought like I wanted to. That they fought like you wanted it to. The only non-competitive game that I feel like was that first game, which Sandy got blown up. Um, second game they gave up a lot of runs, but they came back ultimately. So you could say, oh, it was a failure of a series. They only won one game. But if you go back to our last recording, we did say if they win one game, it's a win.
Yeah.
So they won the first game. They won the second game. The no, I'm sorry, they won the last game. The second game was a fight, and the first game, I mean, they kind of got their butt kicked. But overall, as a fan, I can't say that you would be too upset about it. In all honesty.
Yeah, I'd have to agree mostly. I mean, you played a tough Phillies team that maybe wasn't at their best in terms of like not having Brandon Marsh, Alec Bowman isn't playing the best, and certain little things here and there, which is where we kind of fought back in game two when they brought in Jordan Romano, who has struggled, with the Blue Jays in the past. They signed him kind of knowing that, and he hasn't really looked any better with them. So, well, I mean, really, I've said it all season long, and I think it's just gonna be a theme that you're gonna hear. I don't know if you're gonna reiterate it as much as I will, but I'm just gonna keep saying it all season long, no matter what they do, no matter how the team looks in the current moment that we record, our episodes. And the important thing is that they just keep fighting, which is what they did in Philly, even though they lost game one, with Sandy not pitching very well. Then they didn't come off to a great start either in game two. But, I mean, they fought back to score what, 10?
They ended up scoring six in the last inning, so they
Yeah.
scored 10 runs.
I mean, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up the clip right quickly. But shout out to Liam Hicks, who hit his first MLB homer.
And the 3-2. That's in the air to right field and deep. Kepler's going back. Looking up. Gone! Liam!
So, yeah, I mean, congrats to him. I mean, in my opinion, he hasn't gotten, the best at bats overall in this team. Like, he's not some amazing hitter, but up to that point, he was kind of making good contact with the ball. And there was a few pitches earlier that it felt like finally Hicks could have had his first MLB homer. And, I mean, he'd been putting up decent at bats, hitting the ball hard for outs at times, getting a bit unlucky, and he finally just, in that moment where we probably needed him the most, because it was like late in the game, trying to make a comeback, and he gets the biggest hit of his MLB career. I mean, that was honestly pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, and you look back in that game and you think, man, maybe if Quantrill wouldn't have given up all those runs, we could have possibly taken that game as well. But hindsight is 2020. I'm sure at that moment they weren't thinking, oh, we're gonna score 6 runs in the ninth inning. But later, a bit later in this episode, we'll talk about the rotation and what I think about it because I feel that's a point that we should get to as well.
Yeah, definitely. And then the last game in Philly, I mean, it kind of. I'm gonna be honest. That was an Easter Sunday. I didn't get to watch the beginning of the game. I was
Uh,
I was attending mass when the game started at 1:30, even though I should have gone earlier, maybe. But either way, gotta do your religious duties. And then I kind of left the mass and I immediately checked my phone as I do when there's a game on and I'm not watching from home. And I kind of see that it was like 3-2 or something, or like some just it was probably 3-1, somewhere around there. And it was like, what the heck just happened? I had no update on who had gotten hit, who had done what, and it kind of felt like it was gonna be a bloodbath of a game. Kind of like a back and forth, who's gonna score what, and they took it into extra innings. And before you bring your 2 cents here, I kind of just want to pull up Sanoja hitting a home run, his first MLB home run. Shout out to him. Just like Hicks the day prior.
That elevated fastball too, but he loves going to the slider.
There's a fly ball in the air, left field. Kepler looking up! Kepler looking up! Goodbye!
And I do want to say this before I like to interject here with Sanoja, is that he came up, right, as what, a 22-year-old. I think last season he made his debut, and he's always been what people will say is a high contact guy, meaning he's going to swing in the zone, he's going to make a ton of contact, and he's not going to strike out a lot. He had a period early in the season where he got into a bit of a strikeout streak, or he was striking out a little more than people were expecting from him and from his play style. But I mean, and he's a small guy. Like he's what, 5'7", somewhere around there, maybe a little shorter.
Yeah, I don't even think he's 5'10".
So, and that home run that he got was like, I mean, a pure no-doubter. That was honestly pretty impressive. I'm not saying Sanoja can turn into like some sort of power hitter or anything, but what I am trying to point out is that, like, for somebody that makes tons of contact, that was like an impressive home run in my opinion.
Yeah, and for lack of a better term, he piped the ball. He absolutely piped it. And he was ultimately, aside from that home run, he was the reason we won that game. Because he also came up with a huge hit in the extra innings to win the ball game. So, let me tell you, man, I said it early in the season. I don't know if I said it in the podcast or I only said it to you directly. But I was pretty high on Sanoja. I liked his at-bats. And so far, it's looking like a really good pickup. Looking like someone that could be you and I discussed this off podcast. It could be a utility guy, another John Birdie type of player that he could play anywhere and he could bring us some hits and bring us some runs.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, he does kind of fit that like John Birdie type role where he could play all over the field, but he is like 10 times a better hitter. I mean, better contact rates, better. I think he has way better like plate discipline, the understanding of the plate, and he's just a more productive player all around. Because yeah, I'm not trying to discredit John Birdie's defense, but I think Sanoja just does what a John Birdie type player does, but way better contact, way better play discipline, way better defense. I mean, honestly, it's been pretty impressive on that end with Sanoja to start the year, and he's another guy who can be like a 300 hitter, kind of like Xavier Edwards has been for us, even though I feel like a little bit of late he's a bit of up and down with his game. Right. And then we turn it over to the Red Series. I don't know if you want to kind of take over and give your thoughts on this series.
Yeah, man. I loved it. I thought that it was the first series this year where I felt that we had a complete series, right? Like, the Pirates series, we had all that magic. It's like, oh my God, these walk-offs, like, wow, like this team is coming out of nowhere. But the Red Series was the first series where I felt like, this team is a team that could win games. And it's not like some luck or some miracle that, we won the series and stuff like that. We can go ahead and start off with Game 1. I know that Game 1 and so far this season, the talk was Max Meyer. I mean, dude, Uh, it was he shoved and he had. I mean, look, he had the highest strikeout number of all season in the MLB so far.
Yeah, 14 Ks. But before we get on to Max Myers, I kind of want to dial it back a little bit and talk about the Marlins' number 3 prospect, Agustin Ramirez, who made his MLB debut. So, originally, I believe it was in that last game in Philly, Rob Brantley got injured swinging
Got
the
hurt.
bat. And then we were all like, where do they go now? I mean, because honestly, we weren't sure if they were going to immediately call up Ramirez or not. Nobody knew that for certain. And they did have another catcher by the name of Brian Navarreto, who they could have called up from the minor leagues if they wanted to, if they didn't want to start Ramirez, right away. And then the news immediately came out not long after the game finished in Philly after extra innings that Ramirez was getting called up. And honestly, that was just excitement for every Marlins fan because this is somebody who we've heard so much about. Not only have the people in the Marlins organization been high on him, people across baseball have been high on Ramirez. The Yankees were really high on him. I mean, the Yankees probably just didn't see a need for him because they have Austin Wells and a few other guys there at the catcher position. So they traded him over to Miami in the Jazz Chisholm trade. He was basically the headline of that trade, along with, Jared Serna, who plays second base, and I'm really interested in. But, yeah, I mean, it was just exciting to finally see him get his start, in the MLB, and his first at-bat ended up being just a little dribbler to third base that Noel Marte kind of misplayed. It could have been an error, or it could have been, a hit, and ultimately they just ruled it a hit for his first MLB hit. And I don't know, I mean, what have you seen from him so far? I know we've gotten a few more games since his debut, but how do you feel about him so far?
The most important, I think he has a good eye. I think he has a good eye. I think he knows what to swing at and what not to swing at, which I feel like for long-term success in baseball, a good eye is the most important. So he showed that he could swing at the strikes and take the balls. Um, and he's just got a nasty swing, man. He's just got a nasty, nasty swing. He rips the ball, and I think that's what in this current Marlins team, I think that's what they're lacking. I think that's what he brings, and I think it's much needed. And yeah, man, I'm excited to see if you see his hits, his exit velo is through the roof. Um, I think that he brings the type of power that this Marlins team needs.
Yeah. And I want to go ahead and quickly play his first extra base hit because, I mean, I'll break it down a little bit after the clip, but I kind of just want to show off his swing and talk about it a little bit.
A double off the bat at 107 miles an hour. First pitch. Augustine hammers that one again down the left field line. That's in, and that
Mirror tells you a lot of things.
My bad for playing the wrong clip afterwards, but I'm still learning how to use this software, so I'll leave that in as little lulls. But we're back anyways. But what I want to talk about with Ramirez and that swing is that, and he's shown it throughout like his first couple of games, even especially I feel like in the Seattle series right now that they're playing, that he's very aggressive in the zone, and he's very aggressive on the first pitch a lot of the times. And the one thing I really wanted to talk about with his swing, I'm no swing guru, I'm no baseball coach. I am not throwing this out there as me knowing swing mechanics or anything, but his swing is what I like to call very violent. When he swings, it's just violent through the zone. He has a lot of bat speed, and then you kind of see that little weird like swing motion at the top of his head. And to me,
Man.
I don't know what that is. Like I don't think I've ever really seen a player have like that kind of a backswing. But the way I think about it is that he's so violent through the zone that by the time he gets to the top and he's bringing the bat around, he's almost like relieving pressure from his shoulder. Maybe that's kind of what I think. I don't know if you have any inputs on that.
I don't know if I have any valuable input. I just think it looks so cool, man. all those pictures that you see of him with the bat up here where he's holding it, it's so cool, man. I think that just brings another element to the team. People are talking about it, man. Look at his stance after he gets a hit. I think it brings good energy to the team.
Yeah, and this is kind of getting a little ahead of the Red Series, but he hit his first home run in Seattle, which was a little bit of a wall scraper, not gonna lie. But I mean, I'm kind of waiting for that first. Which congratulations, by the way, to him getting his first home run.
Yes.
You know, a fantastic moment. But I'm kind of waiting for that moment that he gets his first true no doubter, and you get to
Well,
see that backswing really like just stay there longer.
but let's clarify. It was a wall scraper, but it was a wall scraper to center field.
Yeah.
Wasn't like a little. Let's clarify. Wasn't like a little puppy home run. He smacked that ball on a line to center field. The ball flew out of the stadium.
Yeah, I don't have his exit velo on that home run in Seattle, but he's just been overall impressive. And then, I mean, and one last thing I'm going to talk about with Ramirez quickly before we move on with the Red Series is that he's been the big thing with him has always been his bat. The problem, his issues have been behind the plate, and we saw it a few times. He's dropped a few pitches here and there. You know, maybe because he's trying to frame them a little more is what some people say, and all that. But really, it's just been that that he's kind of not very complete behind the plate. He's had a few opportunities to try and steal, bases, and he really hasn't done it. Like hasn't throw out runners stealing bases, what I mean, and he really hasn't thrown them out yet. He's played mostly behind the plate when he started in this lineup, and he's had one start at DH. And I mean, we can probably talk about this in the back half of this episode, but you don't really worry about his glove because especially when you have someone like Joe Mack in the minor leagues who could come up today and be a Gold Glove defender behind the plate. So you just want his bat to develop, and you worry about him being a defensive catcher later on, because he's more of a backup.
Yeah, and I think that the Marlins situation with the whole stolen bases, I think that unfortunately, it's a problem that not only he has, but a problem that Hicks has, and a problem that Fortes has as well. I think that the coaching staff needs to do a better job of remedying the amount of stolen bases another way, because they're just gonna get beat on the base paths if they don't find an alternative. Because unfortunately, at this moment, until Mac gets called up, it's gonna be a situation that all the catchers have anyway.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily think that it falls solely on the catchers. Like, yes, they have probably some fault, but I think a lot of it falls on the pictures that we have, and even someone like Sandy. I think he hasn't been great at trying to hold runners on.
Right.
So I think next, you had mentioned it a little earlier because it's what started off the series versus the Reds, but Max Myers has been incredible to start the year, and he was amazing in game one. I mean, not only was it Ramirez's debut behind the plate at the MLB level, well, not only his debut behind the plate, but just his MLB debut in general, and he gets to catch Max Myers, who's been the best pitcher on this team so far, and what do you know? He freaking throws a 14K game.
Now, you hope that McCullough's going to let Ramirez catch Meyer today for the series finale after that performance. I mean, what are the odds? You get called up, MLB debut, and you just happen to catch the best game of Max Meyer's career so far.
Yeah.
And it was poetic. I think, I mean, excuse my French, but Max Meyer has balls of steel right now. I mean, he can't be bothered on the mound. And every start he looks, you and I talked about it, every start he looks unbothered, and just, he doesn't look like one of those pitchers that gets frazzled by the moment.
Yeah. And I'm going to go ahead and play his final strikeout of the night from that 14K game.
Swing and a miss. Mad Max.
And what I find really interesting, what I will say about that strikeout, is that it was on a slider, which is most of what he's been using. His big problem in his short MLB career has been his fastball. No matter, it's not, I don't think it's so much location. It's probably about the way he throws it. It's probably what a lot of people talk about, like pick shape. It can be, he's thrown a lot of, in my opinion, good located fastballs that still get smacked for home runs and for loud contact. And I mean, that's kind of what he used in that game to get 14 Ks, which is the slider, the sinker, his cutter, change of stuff like that instead of his fastball. I mean, but man, what an impressive freaking start he's had to this season.
It was out of control. I think that, and by the way, the movement on that last strikeout, that was hit the movement on the pitches the whole night. That insane movement on that slider. I think more than half of the strikeouts that he got came on the slider. And, he's got it going right now, man. If he can control that fastball and start pitching it where people can't hit it, I'll tell you, man, it's going to be dangerous, man. It's going to be dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, you would hope he can either get rid of that fastball entirely and maybe bring a new pitch into the mix, because it's usually that four-seamer that's been, not his best pitch, or if they can just keep working on that pitch and make it better. And then
he'll be a dangerous man, bro. He'll be a dangerous man.
He definitely will. And then the final game, which Marlins could have gotten the sweep, they don't. They dropped the final game before heading to Seattle. But what did you think of that final game?
Well, all things considered, I'll say this. Sandy didn't have a bad start. I mean, let's call it how it is. 6 innings, 3 runs. They call that a quality start. He gave us 6. And honestly, at 3 runs, the game is still in reach. I mean, they just didn't really – it looked – McCullough's game that day, he sat down Ramirez. He sat down Norby. It was a bunch of people had an off day. It's like he kind of mailed it in. But I don't know. We kind of didn't hit. We didn't produce. And I think they ruined an opportunity at a sweep, man. That Reds team honestly did not look that good. And Sandy gave us enough to possibly win that game, and we just didn't have any offense.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, because it's what I've said off the podcast, is that final game versus the Reds kind of felt like McCullough put a getaway day lineup when there was no need, because the next day, Thursday, was an off day where they were heading to Seattle. It's like there was, in my opinion, no need to really sit some of these guys. Because, I mean, I would have understood if maybe Thursday you had another game, so you want to rest these guys after, night game, and then the next day's a day game, especially like an earlier afternoon game, and then Thursday you still play. But in my opinion, there was no need to do that. And maybe not all of them. Like, I can understand maybe giving Norby the day off. He should have put Ramirez in there at DH. They didn't want Ramirez catching Sandy. I don't know their thoughts behind that. Maybe they just are trying to get Sandy back into a groove, and they'd rather have somebody who caught him before, other than Ramirez. I mean, what is interesting about that Sandy start, by the way, is that that's the first start this season, at least, that they took away his pitch comm. He didn't have his pitch comm on him, and this ties back a little bit to what the Marlins have been doing as an organization, especially in the minor leagues, where they aren't letting the catchers call the game, and a lot of the game calling is coming from within the dugout, and that allows the catchers to worry on their defense, worry about, being better hitters, which, I mean, that Max Myers game where he struck out 14, Ramirez wasn't calling the pitches. Max Myers, maybe, I didn't pay attention, but I don't think he had a pitch come on him either, at least not one that he could call, pitches from. So, I mean, it clearly is working. It clearly is something that's working, especially for a lot of these young catchers, and that's what they did with Sandy. He's probably overthinking a lot of it because he's a competitor. Like you said, it was 6 innings with 3 runs, which is considered a quality start. But for Sandy's standards, he wouldn't take that at all. You can tell him that was a quality start, and we know who Sandy is. He would tell you, no, it's not. Because that's the kind of competitor he is. To him, even giving up 1 run is already failing the team. That's the kind of tough competitor mindset he has. But it was honestly his best start of the season, and it really is encouraging. I mean, his next one's going to be in Dodger Stadium, so we'll see how that plays out. But it really is encouraging to see him, start to progress a little bit and look better.
Yeah, and like you said, it was his best start of the season. I think that it was a productive step towards getting him back to his normal self. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't really a fan of what McCullough did that day. I think that he mailed it in. I think that, he put the getaway lineup with an off day the next day, so it don't really make sense. And then on top of that, in the 8th inning, when the game's still in reach, he puts in Soriano, which, you know how we feel about Soriano. He puts in Soriano in the 8th inning.
I will say this about Soriano, not to necessarily take any blame off of McCullough or take any blame off of Soriano, but it's like when you have him on your roster and you've been coming off of especially a Philly series where you kind of got smacked around, pitching wise, it's like you maybe don't want to put him in when you still have the game in reach, but when you make him your only available multiple inning guy, it's an issue. I understand that McCullough should maybe not use him as often, but it's also the deal that I think they just need to finally get him off the roster and make him not an option anymore. I mean, we saw guys like Patrick Monteverde in the Philly series. We saw Cade Gibson, who, yes, I understand they threw a lot of innings, and maybe Soriano had been sitting in the minor leagues not throwing, so they switched him out for a fresher arm. But, I mean, I just think that as long as you have Soriano on his roster, it's going to continue to be the same issue. And whether it's McCullough keep using him in spots he shouldn't, I'm going to ultimately blame the front office because McCullough could not make the decision to get him off his roster. And I guarantee you that McCullough will never say it, but if you were to ask him in private and he had 100% confidence that it would never get out, he would probably tell you he doesn't want to have to keep using Soriano anymore.
I think that it's a situation that's continuing to be a problem. I mean, if you look at Soriano's numbers, I mean, we can just pull it up right now. Soriano's numbers on the season are just outrageous. I think that keeping him on is only hurting the team. I feel that way about quite a few guys in the pitching staff, and we're going to get into that. For example, Soriano's numbers on the year. I mean, the guy has pitched 14 innings, and he has a 7.98 ERA.
Yeah, I mean, we can get kind of into the pitching stuff a little bit later, but yeah, I mean, Soriano it's about time he goes and doesn't return back.
They were pretty quick with the hitters. I feel like they did it quick with Bride. They made a decision quick of calling up Ramirez. They're dedicated to making the team better. However, I understand the bullpen is not as much in light as a hitter or a starting pitcher, but when this guy's coming in giving up a run every time he pitches, it's time to cut him loose, man.
Yeah, and I think we should go ahead and move over to the Seattle series, which today is the final game, the rubber match, because it allows us to talk about the pitching finally, because Game 1 was Cal Quantrill, who honestly looked pretty decent early on, but his numbers clearly show that he's not good a third time through the lineup. And I understand they wanted to get him through 6 in Game 1, versus Seattle, which I don't blame them for necessarily trying to get him 6 innings. But it just kind of sucks that when you have a pitcher like this, who by the time you're trying to get him through 6, it's already his third time through, and that's when his pitches start to fall. And I mean, they brought him in to kind of eat innings, and he really isn't eating any of them.
He's not, and I think, albeit I'll tell you this: we won 8-4, so his start goes on the back burner because we won, but he's another guy, bro. We were up 6-1. He comes out of the game at 6-4,
Yeah.
so and I mean we don't even have to talk in depth about last night's game, but I mean wow. I mean, after a few good starts at the beginning of the season, Gillespie has also been another one that's like, he's just not been reliable. And he's another one that's not eating innings, and he's giving up too much runs when he comes in.
Yeah, and
and
I'll say this, I mean, because both of them haven't been great, obviously, and everyone immediately wants, because we have a guy like Adam Mazzaro in the minor leagues who has a 1.44 ERA, who we got from the Padres last year when we traded Tanner Scott and Brian Hoeing. I understand they want him called, but I really do think this is the case right now with this team. They know that, I mean, Yuri threw already 1 inning of rehab. He's already starting to ramp up. And then you have Ryan Weathers, who's also going to start throwing rehab games soon. I really don't think, and I mean, hey, I'll be the first to say it. Color me shocked if they do it now, but I don't think they are going to go ahead and make a move to this pitching staff until one of Yuri or Weathers are ready. I understand. I would want them to, and I think it would make the most sense, but the reason I don't think they will is because they probably don't want to call up a Mazzardo or, use up a Jansen Junk and then have to send them down after like 3-4 starts when Yuri and Weathers are back. I think that what they've shown, especially with Ramirez getting called up, is that they want to call up these guys when they know they're going to be able to keep them on the roster for a longer period of time. That's the way I see it.
And I get it. I'm not opposed to it, but the problem is, it's clear to me that Bendix cares about winning this season because he's calling up guys, he's doing it timely, he's trying to make the team better. But if that's your motive, how many more games are you going to sacrifice is my question. Because every time you're trotting Quantrill and Gillespie out there, you're sacrificing a game. That's just the reality. I mean, Quantrill has given up 4 runs on almost every start, at least 4. And Gillespie, in the last few starts, let's call it how it is, he's been not good. He's been terrible.
I mean, both of them have been terrible, just to call it bluntly.
They've just not been good. So my question is, if you're sending this message to the team that poor play will not be tolerated, when are you going to make the move for one of these guys to be either sent down or be off the team?
I fully understand that, and whether it's what you like to hear as a fan or not, I would simply just say, be patient about it. Wait for Yuri and Weathers to come back. Because honestly, unless they make a move and kind of surprise us again, kind of like they did with getting rid of Bryden so quickly, and call up Mazzardo or Jung before Yuri and Weathers are back, then hey, good for them for making the move now, because that's what we need. But honestly, I'm going to be real with it, I kind of don't see it. I kind of don't see it happening until Weathers and Yuri are back, because they probably, I'm not in those meetings. I wish I could be a fly on the wall or a speck of dust that one of the people forgot to clean up, on the floor or something. I would love to be like a fly on the wall in those meetings. And they probably have had meetings of, okay, Quantrill's not pitching good, Gillespie's not pitching good, but we could call them Mazzardo or Junk, but we also have Yuri and Weathers coming back. Which route do we want to take? And there's probably some people that are in that room that say, Mazzardo or Jung could be a better option right now, but then we have to send them back down. Do we want to do that? That's probably a kind of line of conversation. And then they're like, or we just ride it out, let these two guys keep going until we get Yuri and Weathers back, and then we know they're going to go into the rotation when they come back. That's a given.
Right.
And then we figure out what we want to do with these two guys, whether it's move Gillespie to the bullpen, and he can be another cleanup guy, or figure out what to do with them, you know? Because Weathers and Yuri aren't coming back at the same time, I don't think. Like
No, and I think it'll be a little longer for Yuri. It'll be longer for Yuri than for Weathers.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be around the same time, but it's not even going to come back on the same day either. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not even going to be activated on the same day. Because even if they're able to do that, even if they reach a point where they're able to activate them together, they're probably going to wait just so they don't have to make as many moves right away on the pitching staff. So my thing is just that. Like, yes, we want them off the team, and I guarantee you they will be off the team. Because if we had Yuri healthy, if we had Weathers healthy, I guarantee you these two players don't even sniff the opening day roster.
I agree with you.
So,
I'm not disputing.
I mean, my only question is, if you reach this point in the episode and you're listening to us talk about this pitching staff and you're a Marlins fan, what would you do when Weathers and Yuri's come back? Because I highly doubt, I'll tell you this much, I highly doubt that they just DFA both Quantrill and Gillespie and send them to the moon. Quantrill maybe, because I'm pretty sure they signed him as a free agent, if I'm not mistaken, on a 1-year deal. But I think Gillespie still has options to be sent down, so he's not going to be sent away from this team. He's going to get sent off of the rotation, but it won't be the last time we ever see him in a Marlins uniform, I don't think, this season. Especially if this bullpen continues to be the way it is and they need more arms to clean up. So,
I'm with you.
And the other move that ends up getting, taken care of when these two come back is Soriano potentially getting moved out of there. Getting moved out of the bullpen, because if they put Gillespie in the bullpen instead of Soriano, and then he's out. Maybe not the best trade-off, but we'll have to see how they handle the situation.
But who knows? I mean, I think Gillespie has good stuff. I just don't think that he's a starter. I just don't believe that he's a starter. I don't know if you're with me on that, but I don't believe he's a starter. He hasn't proven that he can go up length.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, what I will say is that early on, clearly the Marlins showed that they believe in his stuff and they like what he brings. Maybe not as a starter, but that's probably the only spot they have for him right now. Because if not, they would have to do something else with it that they probably don't want to do at the moment. Because they had, Valente Belloso up to start the year, and they kind of just sent him down instead of sending Gillespie down. When, in my opinion, I would have rather them sent down Gillespie instead of Belloso, because, Belloso doesn't have, incredible stuff. He doesn't throw hard, but, I mean, the guy gets results. But clearly...
He was in the couple starts he had, he was much better than Gillespie.
Yeah, and clearly the Marlins don't really see what they see in Belloso like what they see in Gillespie, because if not, they wouldn't send them down.
Right.
So, I mean, really, I think it's just a situation where, yes, we want to see these guys off of the rotation, and I think if you are patient and give it time, Yuri and Weather are going to come mend the starting rotation up a little bit. And then you have to hope, somebody like Sandy just starts to look better.
Yeah. I mean, I think the telltale sign will be how he pitches in LA next week. I think that we're about to find out really where he's at when he pitches versus the Dodgers.
Yeah, and then another thing I kind of wanted to touch up on really quickly. unless you have any more you want to add to the pitching discussion.
No, I think it is a case of what you said. I think eventually time will tell what ends up happening with those two. Ultimately, I think Quantrill is going to get DFA'd. I mean, I feel like that's just the most logical scenario in this case. And I think Gillespie's going to end up going down to AAA.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to keep him on the team.
And then I mean, you also got to look at the positives too, because I was always high on Max Meyer. He was a first round pick, but nobody expected him to get up to this kind of a start. Like, he was, I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me. I'd have to go compare, and maybe you guys can do it while you're listening to the video, to the episode. But I don't even think he got up to this great of a start last year when he had like 5 starts that were really good, and then they ended up sending him down. I mean...
No, I don't believe so. I don't believe he was this hot to start last year as he is this year.
So, I mean, really, it's just great to see him, like, finally kind of put it together. I mean, we'll see what a full season looks like from him. But the one thing I really wanted to say about him, and we kind of talked about it a little bit when we mentioned his 14K performance, is that this guy has zero emotion on the mound. Which... you know, it could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. It depends what kind of a player you are. Because someone like Sandy is a guy who pitches with a lot of emotion on his sleeve, and you see that, you know. But to me, Max Meyer almost has like this attitude of I don't care, and I don't mean that in a bad way. But it's just like he got that last strikeout and it was 14, and it was almost like, okay, so what? Like, so what that it was 14? Like, yeah, I did a good job, but so what? Like, it was, like, just another day for him. Like, he had no, like, high emotion. He didn't celebrate it. He didn't fist bump. He didn't run into the dugout and start, like, hyping himself up or getting hyped with it. No, he just has, like, no emotion to his game, which, in my opinion, seems to be good for him because he's finally showing, you know, what he can be and that he can pitch anywhere. You know,
yeah.
High leverage and low leverage. You can be Aaron Judge at the plate. He doesn't care.
He's a mature guy. He handles his emotions well, and he's never fazed by the moment, man. He's never fazed by the moment, and you know, in reality, he knows that at the end of the day, you know, for him it's just baseball.
Yeah.
For him, it's not. You know, for him, the moment's never too big. For him, it's just baseball. And for a lot of guys, that makes it easier.
Yeah.
Because you know what? He has a mentality that it's just baseball, it's just a game. And for him, clearly it's working. What a stud he's been. And fingers crossed today on the mound, he does the same exact thing.
Yeah, because, I mean, he's just been phenomenal and, like, really impressive. And
fingers crossed they let Ramirez catch him again.
Yeah. Because whatever they did last time,
yeah.
You know, calling the pitches from the dugout, whatever, you know, it worked. I don't know, set up the same scenario.
Let's keep it that way.
Like, you're not in Lone Depot Park, but hey, make everyone sit in the same spot on the bench. I don't know, man. Whoever had their coffee in the morning with extra sugar that day, put it in again.
Wear your hats the same way.
Yeah, I mean... I don't know, whatever, make sure it's the same way. But he's been really impressive. And I'll say this, showing emotion is not a bad thing. I'm not against it. But it just, I think it varies player to player. Some people let the emotion get to them and it affects them negatively. But he clearly has no care for the emotion. And he just goes out there and pitches.
Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit.
Yeah. And then, I guess we can highlight a few of these offensive performers that have been pretty well. I mean, I say that because I wanted to show off Matt Mervis's home run in that final game versus the Reds. So let's go ahead and play the clip.
This season, can they get a big hit here in the bottom of the first? That's in the air to right field. This is deep. Fraley's going back. See you later, Matt
I believe that was, what, his 7th or 8th?
7th, I believe. 7th home run, I believe.
Yeah, and he leads the team. I mean, that's kind of been the player he's been so far early in the season. It's either home run or bust kind of a player, but
kind of homer or bust right now.
But
Yeah.
I mean, it's been pretty fun to see him out there. I mean, I don't know.
He's fun, man.
Yeah, I don't know if you have like any other
I
offensive
You know what's
performers.
funny? To touch on Mervis, I think what I kind of see in him is kind of what Soler gave us a few years ago. That's kind of the guy that I see in him this year. You know, it may not be a high average guy, but he'll sure give us a few home runs and a few RBIs, and I think that's what matters. A few offensive performers for me. I think if you're talking about who has most impressed me throughout the whole season, probably Stowers, bro. I think Stowers.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just got this year, aside from his hitting, which has been improved, he's got like such an eye, man. I think he leads the team in walks.
Yeah.
Which is, he has been like a complete 180 from last year. He's patient. He waits for the pitch, you know, and his hitting in general has improved as well.
Yeah.
So he's been a productive guy in the lineup, and I've been very impressed. And to take it a step further for another guy who hasn't been this way the whole season, but as of late, well, and I say as of late, but as of really the last 3 or 4 series, man, Wagaman, after we absolutely tore him to shreds in the last...
Which I will add, he got his hitting streak snapped the last night.
Yeah, but who didn't last night? Who didn't?
Yeah. Which I believe it was like an 8-game hitting streak or something around
yeah,
there.
He's been absolutely fantastic ever since we ripped him to shreds in that last episode. So maybe we should start ripping more people to shreds. Maybe now that we said that about Gillespie and Quantrill, they're going to go ahead and pitch like a shutout the next outing.
Yeah, because funny enough, I forget when Quantrill's next start is, but...
I think it's versus the Dodgers.
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken.
So, I mean, maybe we talk, you know, smack about him and he shuts down the mighty Dodgers.
I think he pitches that last game versus the Dodgers on Wednesday.
Yeah, so, I mean, we'll have to see. But, yeah, I mean, definitely Wagaman has been playing really well offensively. I mean, Sanoja has been too whenever he's in there. He's not in there a lot, but he's been good when he's been in there. I mean, Stowers, I think, has been the most impressive one because last season when he got traded over to Miami, he just didn't show anything. And one of his bigger problems has always been the high fastball, which he has, you know, shown signs of having troubles with it still this year. But I mean, he's just been, like you said, way better. His eye is better. He's making better contact. He's just having overall better at bats, and they're resulting in just better hits. He's driving the ball more.
Yeah, man. I think up to the, what are we at right now? We're almost at 25 games in.
Yeah.
I think up to the 25 game mark on the offensive side of the ball, I would say he's my MVP so far.
I mean, I'd love to see him be able to drive the ball more, like for homers and stuff. But honestly, I wouldn't change anything of what he's doing because you don't want to force him to start trying to hit more homers, and then that ruins his swing, and it causes more swing and miss. And then that just ruins like the groove he's on, you know.
Yeah, he's on a hell of a of a groove right now. And let me just look at how many walks he has, just because, you know, it feels like every game I watch him, he's taking a walk. And that's how it feels for me. I mean, look at this. We've played 25 games exactly, and he has 12 walks. So I think by far on the team, that's the most walks out of the whole team.
Yeah, and then another guy who necessarily hasn't been great offensive performer, but I feel like his at bats have looked a little better since coming back from the IL has been Jesus Sanchez.
Yeah.
We've had, you know, this is the discussion with this guy for what he's been on this team for like 4 or 5 years now. It's kind of like we know what he can be, what potential he has. I mean, he showed it off in this Seattle series. He freaking hit that mammoth home run.
Yeah.
And that is which is what we love from him. He's done it, you know, so many seasons. He's shown off that ability to hit those crazy home runs and stuff. But it's just, never really been able to put it all together with him. But I will say I do like his at-bats a little more because I feel like he's been able to lay off of certain pitches. He's not swinging out of the zone a lot, and he has a little less swing and miss. I don't know what his future really looks like on this team because we are going to have a bit of a logjam in the outfield, especially if a lot of these guys in the minor league start performing to what they can be and they start getting called up. He might be the odd man out who gets either traded or potentially DFA'd. I hope it's traded because I still believe Jesus Sanchez has trade value. Not a lot, but it's enough to get you something. You know, maybe it's a lower minor league guy that you like his potential, and hey, it's better than nothing, I guess, out of him at this point. But I will add that I like his approach at least. Maybe it's not resulting in a lot of hits, but it looks a little better, and hopefully he starts putting together, better final result in his at bats for more hits.
Yeah, I think that he's one of those guys that you kind of know what you're going to get, like you said. Unfortunately, I like him. I like his attitude. I like the passion he brings. But like you said, I think he's going to be the odd man out. I think in what Bendix is going to do, or he's just not going to be – he's going to be the one that ends up being the odd guy out.
Yeah. And then another guy who also is coming off of the IL – didn't start the season on the opening day roster because he was injured, is Connor Norby. And that's somebody who I really want to see get going. He's been a little better as of late, maybe like the Red Series into the Seattle Series in terms of getting hits. Even though it's a lot of one-hit games, not multi-hit games. But really, I don't know what exactly is going on with him. I don't know if it's the fact... Because to me, the way I see Connor Norby is somebody who can potentially be a 270 hitter that can hit you 15 to maybe 20 home runs, and he's a lot of doubles power. So if he maxes out at 15 home runs, then he's hitting a lot of balls into the gap for doubles. But right now, I don't know what it is. I feel like he's overthinking tremendously at the plate. Because if you notice a lot of his at-bats, he's not really committed to swinging the bat, meaning he will take a half swing and check his swing a lot of the time. You can literally dissect his at-bats, every single one of them since he's come back, and it feels like he has over 20 check swings. Whether they check the swing or not is different, but it's a literal half swing that, in my book, goes down as a checked swing. So, he's been a little better lately in terms of starting to put hits together, but I want to see him get it together because it's just...
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with him right now currently.
I think that it's maybe rust. He's at a 240 average right now with a 600 OPS. He's not playing great, let's be honest. I think that, from what we saw last year, he's taken a dip in performance, at least to start the year. So we'll see where it takes him. He also has, in 31 at-bats, he has 12 strikeouts.
Yeah.
So, not very good on the strikeout rate. I think it's what you said. I think he's just lost at the plate right now. I think it's a bit of overthinking and being lost at the plate.
Yeah, I like to wonder if he would have started the season on the opening day roster, if it would have been the same thing, or maybe it would have just been very early, would have been earlier in the season, so by now he could have figured it out.
Right.
Because it just hasn't. To me, the thing that worries me the most is not necessarily the strikeouts. It's not necessarily the lack of hits. It's more so the fact that he's very in between. It's swing the bat or don't swing the bat. But he's...
Right.
It's like if he's undecided. I don't care. Here's the thing. I would feel a little better, honestly, if he was swinging the bat and just swing and miss. Swing and miss. Because at least in his mind, that... Well, I I don't know about in his mind, but to us, the fans, that could kind of tell us he's committed to the swing.
Right.
Right now, he's not committed to anything. Cause it's like it's a lot of swing or don't swing type of thing right now. Like, he's very in between. Too many check swings, too many, and I really want to see him like get it going because, like I said, I feel like he could be a 270, 15 homer guy with a lot of doubles in that bat. I mean, his defense hasn't been terrible. He's not Nolan Arenado. You know, in my opinion, I think Graham Pauley, who's been the other guy that's played a lot of third base for us, maybe plays a better defense than Norby, but he's a fine defender at third. So and his defense isn't really taking a dip or anything. If anything, he looks, in my opinion, better than he did last year when he came over, because now he's getting way more reps at third base. He got a lot of reps in spring training, and he's only playing third base now. So we need that bat to really start coming around because I mean, the Marlins are going to give him every opportunity. He's not losing his job anytime soon. He's going to play out the full season. But you want to see him be able to show what his potential is. And I'm not saying his potential as in his ceiling. I just mean play up to your potential as in your floor. Because your floor is a great doubles guy that can be maybe in the lower half of the middle of the lineup and provide, decent doubles power, which is what we need.
Yeah, you gotta hope that he gets it going. I mean, it's definitely something mental. It's a mental game for him right now. So, let's hope that he turns it around and he starts producing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, because he's somebody who really needs to get going. And then, I don't know if you have anyone else you want to shout out or mention on the offense or...
I don't have anyone else right now other than that I had Stowers and Wagaman. You mentioned Sanoha, which was another one that I thought of. And I think right now that's where I'll stay. Because we know what Edwards is. Edwards doesn't require a shutout. He's been a good bat, and we already knew that. So I don't think right now he deserves a shutout.
I do want to point out something with Edwards though, is that who knows if long term he's gonna stick at shortstop, because he's maybe not the greatest defender. He really provides his value with his hit tool, and he's not a guy that has a lot of power in that bat. I don't know what is going on right now, because I know earlier in the season he was dealing with some knee issues. But, I mean, he gets on base right now, and he's not even stealing. It doesn't look like he's trying to steal.
Oh, it's the same thing. It's what's going on. That's exactly what's going on. And honestly, I think that you get what you get, unfortunately. If you're going to play him, if you're going to go out and trot him out there, and he's paying on above me, then he's not going to run. And
yeah, which, I mean... It would be nice if this team could come out and tell us why they're not running him, because I'm of the mindset of this, and maybe it's not the correct mindset, but I'm of the mindset of this, right? I understand that players aren't gonna play 100% all the time, right? Like health wise, physically, like they're not gonna feel 100% every day that they go and play. That's understandable. Especially if you're playing every day. Like, yes, it's not the most physically demanding sport, but these guys are still training, these guys are still going through everything, so they're not going to be 100% all the time. But my thing is that if you're going to play a player and have him be out there and have him play, you got to let him play to his skill. Like, I understand if his knees maybe are shot, and it's not good for him to be running, so they don't. But I mean, I don't know, because if you won't come out and tell us, oh look, Edwards' knee is still bugging him, we can't have him steal, because if he steals, he could risk getting hurt, put on the IL, and then we end up without him in the lineup, which hurts us more than him not stealing. Okay, fine. But if you won't come out and tell us, then I'm only going to assume he's capable and not doing it, and it's hurting.
But he's not, though. But he's not. He's not capable of doing it, and it's obvious because they've tried to run him in previous games, and he's gotten caught stealing. They just can't run him right now, and it's obvious why. He can't run, and they're not gonna say it because they don't want to bring attention that the Marlins are playing a hurt player, but it's obvious that he can't run right now because they've tried to let him run, and he's gotten caught. So. Unfortunately, it is going to be what it has to be right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's just my one thing, because, I mean, I just don't know anyone else on this team right now that could really steal you a base. Like, maybe Sonoha, who's a shorter guy, but I don't know if he's necessarily the speed guy to steal you a base the way Edwards can. Edwards is that base stealer that you would love to be able to use, but like you said, I mean, it's I mean, they won't say it. I'm pretty obvious I'm picking up cues. I mean, you can pick up on the cues too.
Yeah.
It just seems like he's not 100%, and they won't really be able to let him run until he's 100%.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what sucks. And then I want to talk about right now Griffin Conine, because I didn't mention this when we talked about the Philly series, but it did happen in the Philly series just because recent news came out during the Seattle series on the broadcast. So I'm going to go ahead and play right now the clip of his injury, and then we'll be right back.
Mirror tells you a lot of things.
That is lined towards the gap in right center field. That's extra bases for Griffin Conine. It's cut off in center field. The run's going to score, an RBI double for Griffin. Did he just get hurt?
So you can't really tell in that clip entirely because of the way they didn't focus on him. It was more the ball in the outfield. But essentially, from what we know now, is that he was running out of the box, slid into second base, slid obviously way too hard, and after the game it came out that he had a dislocated shoulder, which honestly really sucks and, in my opinion, really hurts his team. Because he was playing amazing on defense, he was playing tremendous on offense, and he's another left-handed bat that was playing great. I mean, it's really terrible in my opinion that he got injured like that. And the extra news that came out during the Seattle series, which I believe was in the first game, was that he's with the team right now in Seattle. He's gonna travel with them to LA. He's gonna see a specialist in LA, and then he's gonna go and get surgery on that shoulder. So the team already placed him on the 60-day IL. So he's probably not gonna do any baseball activity for 60 days anyways. And now he's getting surgery, so I mean, it really sucks because I was really excited to see what he can bring over a full season. And it was looking great to start the year. I mean, now what? His season is over?
I mean, I think that the team didn't report it to the extent that it was. Dislocated shoulder only takes 6 to 12 weeks. Like, it could be as early as a month and a half. It could be as late as 3 months. But now he's getting surgery a week later, 2 weeks later on the dislocated shoulder. So clearly it wasn't just a dislocated shoulder. Whatever happened was much worse than that. And sadly enough, who knows if we'll see him again this year.
Yeah, I mean, it just really sucks. I mean, because if you're a Marlins fan, first of all, right, putting the production aside for a second, you look at the lineup. And especially if you're an older fan, you know, and you see the name Conine, and it's like, oh look, Jeff Conine's son playing for the Marlins. Like that's something that matters to fans, you know, that they like, you know. It's like a cool legacy thing, if you will. And on top of that, to have him play well and actually be a potential piece for the future. You know,
like it wasn't just a gimmick type of thing.
Yeah, it wasn't just a gimmick. It wasn't just Nepo baby. I mean, the Marlins last year didn't call him up just to call him up, because his last name is Conine. I mean, he spent so many years in the minor leagues, and he finally got a shot last year. It was looking great to start off the year this year. You know, in all the opportunities he got on the field, and it just really sucks. Like, honestly, he is somebody that I think it really, really sucks that he got injured now, because here's the thing, right? If it would have been anyone else, per se, like maybe a Dane Myers, or I don't know. I mean, maybe not just anyone else, but if it would have been maybe somebody else in general, it probably is a little different.
Yeah.
But Griffin Conine was only somebody who was barely starting to show what kind of value he could provide. And now it's like he gets hurt, he gets put on the 60-day IL, he's gonna get surgery, he's probably gonna be out for the rest of the season, and we kind of sit here and wonder, like, now what's gonna take place in the meantime while he's gone. You know, there's guys like a Jacob Marcis in the minor leagues knocking on the door. There's other guys like that in the minor leagues that are knocking on the door, who are outfielders that want to play in the big leagues, are played well enough right now in the minor leagues to warrant a call-up when the time comes. It's like, I'm not saying they won't give Conine that opportunity, but he wasn't even guaranteed an opening day roster spot out of spring training to begin with. He could have very well started in AAA, and it was honestly looking way more likely that he would have started in AAA at the beginning of this season if Sanchez hadn't gotten hurt. So, really, it just feels like a tough break, because
It's a tough break, and honestly, you know, you could feel sorry for yourself, but at the end of the day, it's the next man up. And you could be like, oh man, of course we just lost this guy. But at the end of the day, it's next man up. And on top of that, you know, unfortunately, this happens to every team. There's always a guy that you're expecting a lot out of that ends up getting hurt, and that derails the season for them. And it sucks. And it sucks, honestly, that it had to be him.
yeah.
But you know, next man up. You got to play next man up, and you keep playing hard. You got to keep playing to win.
Yeah, and before we continue talking about this topic, because I do want to mention his Conine's radio interview that he gave the next day in Philly. But I mean, like you said, next man up, and that was Rodney Simon, who gets called up, and he got his first MLB hit the same day as Ramirez. They debuted together, you know, in that first game versus the Reds, and he drove in Ramirez too. So first hit and first RBI. So congrats to Simon. And I mean, hey,
Sure.
he gets an opportunity to play now, so hopefully he takes advantage of it.
We'll
But
see what he does as well.
we'll see what he does in the opportunities that they give him, for sure. But I do want to mention the radio interview and kind of talk about what Griffin said, because he mentioned in that radio interview that it was the first time he's ever had this significant of an injury in his baseball career. Not just like professional, just baseball career in general, from when he first started playing as a little kid to professional now. And I mean, he seems to have a great mentality, at least, or a positive outlook, per se, if you will, to this happening. I mean, it's very hard for a player like him to get hurt and stay positive, but he just kind of said, and it's the first time he's ever dealt with an injury like this, and he's willing to tackle whatever comes with rehab to make his way back and continue playing. So I mean, we'll just have to see how that plays out overall.
In which, to put a bow on that topic, I want to say, like, I really would have wanted, and maybe, who knows, maybe they didn't know, but I really would have wanted the Marlins to be more, honest when it came to the situation. Because, you hear dislocated shoulder and you're like, okay, he escaped the worst. But then you're like, oh, but he's getting surgery. So I kind of would have wished they would have reported the extent of what happened, rather than just calling it, hey, it's a dislocated elbow. I mean, a dislocated shoulder. And then, you're thinking, oh, okay, he escaped something really bad.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, dislocated shoulder, most of the time, you pop it back into place and whatever, you let it heal. But clearly, this was much more than that, and I wish we would have known that from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that when they probably said dislocated shoulder, they didn't have enough testing done, probably. It was probably like, get him out of the stadium as soon as the injury happened and send him to the hospital and get him tested. And then obviously, like I mentioned earlier, he's going with the team to LA to see that specialist and then have surgery. So, but they could have updated farther along and obviously told us a little more. Yeah. But who knows? I mean, it sucks. It is what it is. But I mean, time moves on, unfortunately, and we'll see how things shake up. I mean, since he's gonna have surgery right now in LA, I mean, we should be receiving an update soon. So by next episode, maybe we have another update on him, and we find out what his surgery looks like, and you know what kind of a timetable. It's gonna be a very rough timetable. It's not gonna be anything too concrete, but we'll see what kind of a timetable they put on him and what they say after his surgery. But I mean, unless you have any other topics you'd like to cover on the Marlins or any other ideas you have.
I think we hit them all. I think that we're just looking forward to. And by the way, we know this is a very weird timing type of episode, but the scheduling just worked out for it to be right now. But usually we do these at the end of series. Yeah. But yeah, I'm just hoping that we get the series one today.
Yeah, I mean, by the time this episode is up and posted, you guys watching won't be able to know if we won or not. So, I don't know, hit the comments, let us know. Any of your thoughts, really, and all that. But I guess that'll wrap up this episode. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to go down there and subscribe. Make sure to share this video with all your friends and family. And we'll see you guys on the next episode.